Hello and welcome. In this Qucamba Reports video tutorial, you'll learn how to use the complex list report wizard to generate a new multiple grouped list report for Microsoft Dynamics NAV. The complex list report wizard can be used whenever you want to include multiple data items in your report. To open the complex list report wizard, select the command complex in the Create tab. In the following example, we'll create a new report based on the customer ledger entry table. We'll display some sales relevant fields of the customer ledger entry, group them together, and of course calculate some totals. So let's get started with the creation of our new report. I've decided to use an A4 horizontal format for the report. I therefore need to select the appropriate report template file. In this case, QR List A4 Landscape. To do this, I first need to select the table template, and from this file choose the corresponding tablets for the output of grouped list reports. I now need to determine under which ID the resulting report will later be saved in NAV, and accordingly choose an English name. In our example, Customer Sales by Salesperson, and then a local name. In this case, I'm using the German equivalent of the English name, Debitoren Verkäufe nach Verkäufer. Click on Next to proceed to the following wizard page. In this wizard step, you'll find all of the available NAV tables displayed and categorized in the left pane. In order to use these tables for a report, you need to select the appropriate tables in the left pane and apply them to the right pane. They are then available for the report as data elements or data items. How to select the tables via a full text search above, or by just removing the check mark from the box also above, was explained in an earlier Qucamba Reports tutorial on the creation of a simple list report. I now want to select a ledger entries table, namely the customer ledger entry table. I apply this to the right pane by double-clicking. It's then available for my report as a data element or data item in the right pane. As I don't require any additional data elements, I click on Next to continue. In this window, I now have to determine which fields from NAV I require for my report. In the left pane of the window, you can see our data item, customer ledger entry, and in the middle pane, the available fields for the data item are displayed. Now I need to add the fields I would like to use. In my report, I want to include the customer number, the posting date, document type, document number, and the description. Furthermore, I want to include some calculated fields, namely the field amount local currency, sales local currency, and profit local currency. Additionally, I would also like to include the salesperson with not only the salesperson code, but their names as well. As you can see, there is a small triangle next to the line salesperson code. This indicates that this field has a table relation. In other words, there is a connection to another table. By clicking on the triangle, I can see that the table relation for the table salesperson purchaser goes to table number 13. Next to the table, I once again find a small triangle. If I click on it, I see all of the available fields in this table. I would also like to add the field name, so I now select it. Furthermore, I not only want to output the customer number, but the customer name as well. Fortunately, this field corresponds to an underlying table, namely the table customer. This table also includes the customer name, which I now select. Additionally, I would also like to group my report according to the country region. This, however, is not directly available in the customer ledger entry table, but instead in the customer table. Therefore, I now also need to select field number 35, the country region code from the customers table. The selection of the fields which I require from NAV is now completed, and I can click on Next to proceed to the following wizard page. The data which we have selected in the previous wizard steps, the fields in the table, customer ledger entry, will later be included in the table form in the report through means of the so-called tablix, a data output element used to display data in a grid format. The resulting tablix can be seen in the left pane. In the middle pane, you can see all of the available fields by which I can group the report output. We now want to do the grouping by salesperson code, which I now select by double-clicking on it. In the next step, by country region code. For this, you can also use the Add button. After that, by customer number, and finally within the customer number by the document type. With that, I have now defined the groupings I want and can click on Next to continue to the following step. In this window, you can determine which columns should later be displayed in the report. The window is again divided into 3 parts. To the left is the tablix output element to display the data. In the middle pane are the available fields, and in the right pane are the fields which Qucamba Reports has already deemed most appropriate for this report. The right pane can also, of course, be changed here as needed. If, for example, you decide that the entry number should not be included in the report, you can select and get rid of it by using the Remove button. When the position of a field doesn't fit, you can move it accordingly per drag and drop. In this way, you can arrange all columns as needed. In our example, as the report has the structure I want, I click on Next to proceed to the following wizard step. In this window, you can now decide which group totals or sums the report should reflect. Here, the partitioning of the windows is exactly the same as the previous step. In the left pane, you again see the display element, namely the tablix. In the middle pane, the applicable fields which can be totaled are displayed. And in the right pane are the output fields Qucamba Reports has selected which makes sense to be totaled. If, for example, you now want that the profit, the amount, or the sales to be excluded and not be totaled, you can remove it by marking it and then clicking the Remove button. In this case, however, as these fields are suitable for our report, I'll just click on Next to proceed to the following window. With that, we have now already reached the end of our report wizard. At this point, you still have the possibility to change the project ID, the name of the report, or to add a version list project prefix. This information, however, has already been defined, and as such is fine for me. Therefore, I now decide to end the wizard by clicking on the Finish button. As you can see in the background, the report is now being generated, imported to the NAV database, and also compiled. After compiling is completed, the report is again retrieved from the database and then loaded in the preview with generated data. In a future tutorial, we'll discuss how to utilize the preview. The new report is in the NAV database now and available for direct use. To demonstrate this, I'm now switching to the NAV development environment C-side. As you can see, this new report, Customer Sales by Salesperson, can now also be seen here. By clicking on Run, I can directly start this report, and with that, the report's request page is displayed in the Windows client. Now I have the possibility to choose filters for my data item, the customer ledger entry. I've made the decision for a filter on the Verkäufer code, which is the German translation of salesperson code. And at that, I only want to display data for the salesperson Joachim Richter and Peter Schlusser. By clicking on Preview, I can preview the report. This is displayed in a normal screen layout. As I want to see what the printed version will look like, I switch to the print format in order to get a better look at the data in printed form. As you can see, we have now created a standard, conform, and style guide conform NAV report. Here you can again recognize the elements in the header, namely the title of the report. The company name is naturally included along with the date and time of the output, the page numbering, and the logged in user. Given that we have included a filter for the salesperson code, thus filtering a data item, we would of course like the filtering to be displayed on the first page of the report. Even this is done automatically in our report. You can now see the data that we selected through the report wizard is displayed in tables in the body of the report. Here you see the headings of the table output data are repeated on the subsequent pages, followed by the groupings that we have defined. Let's go back to the first page. The groupings according to salesperson code, the country region code, and the customer. As you can see, even these fields include corresponding data. For example, the name of the salesperson purchaser that we included in our data set so that the groupings are easily recognizable. When we go back a few more pages in the report, you can of course see the detailed outputs. In this case, the customer ledger entries are displayed with a gray background. Gray backgrounds are always displayed by default for group reports, according to the Microsoft guidelines for reports. At the end of the list on the last page, you can find the group totals. The summation are displayed per group according to the aggregated totals, and naturally a sum total for the complete report is included. As you've now seen with the complex report wizard, you can quickly create a new report for NAV, which is standard and style guide conform in a few steps. This is the end of our tutorial. If you're interested in finding out more about creating other types of reports, don't forget to check out our other videos. Thanks for watching. I hope you found it helpful.